we go for launch.
5.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Anything can happen in the next half hour.
4.
My friend, we cannot keep this a secret any longer.
This whole thing is insane.
3.
Quiet, please. I am analyzing.
Where's the kaboom?
2.
There was supposed to be an earth-shattering kaboom.
1.
Your father, he waits.
Much to learn, much to teach. There are dangers beyond our village.
What a wonderful day!
My family. I will find them. I will bring them home.
To survive, remember your strength, your compassion, your mercy.
Why do they hunt her?
She knows the human secrets.
I have a name. May. I know where they're taking your clan.
You chose a human over an ape.
This was a human place. It is not yours.
It is now, isn't it?
The elders did not tell us everything about this world.
Nor bend for your king.
Never.
Get tickets now.
Greetings, my fellow galactic travelers, and welcome back to Planet 8. This is your mission commander Larry speaking to you from our hidden base. Chief Engineer Bob is here by my side as always in the command center, and circling Planet 8 in our orbital spy satellite is Reconnaissance Officer Karen. And on this episode of Planet of the Apes, one of the most uninteresting films I've ever seen. No, I'm kidding with you guys. Well, actually, I didn't find it interesting, but Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Your mission commander is watching all the commercials of Proximus Caesar, and I'm like, what is this Proximus Caesar? And Bob and Karen are just so excited about this movie. And I'm like, okay, I'll go see it for the podcast. And it was the best nap I've had in a theater sometime. We're going to get into specifics. The character of Noah just didn't. I wasn't vested in it. Spoiler alerts. His village getting destroyed was terrible. His father, perishing, and the funny thing is when I saw that, I thought, Noah's going to go throughout the film now saying, "My name is Inoyo Montoya. You have killed my father, and I will seek, or whatever that Princess Bride saying is. I don't know. Bob, Karen, what say you?
Well,
what a wonderful day for a podcast. I enjoyed it a lot, actually, but I think I told you guys before, on New Year's Eve, Debbie and I binged our way through Rise and Dawn and War.
Mm-hmm.
So they were all kind of fresh in my mind as I went to see this. And I thought, this film really ties the other three into a prequel series leading to Planet of the Apes. And you realize, okay, this is showing us how this whole ape society began, which was just a kind of a backstory in the original movie. But here we're actually seeing it. And Larry's looking very confused.
I didn't get that. I enjoyed the first film with John Lithgow and how the apes advanced hundreds or thousands of years through Caesar, and Caesar's affinity for humans was explained, but I never really bridged the modern Planet of the Apes with the originals as prequels. I just didn't, it didn't hit me as such. But
well, it wasn't as apparent. Well, I mean, obviously the first film showed how everything kind of started.
Right.
But it wasn't really apparent until Kingdom came out. And then, okay, now the apes are talking. They're building, I don't want to say cities, is more like encampments and things. But and the humans are regressing, at least most of them, to the point where they no longer talk and they're very primitive. Now there is that cluster that is still intelligent, but yeah, I mean, it's basically, okay, this is really setting the stage for the society that we saw in the 1968 Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
fair enough. Walker,
quite
what
interesting.
say you?
Yeah, I agree with Bob. I enjoyed this a lot. I think it is slow, so I understand that, you may have felt like nap time sometimes, but I thought it suited the story because we're dealing with, for the most part, with like Noah's tribe, especially. They're sort of like early man, right? They have villages and they don't have a lot of technology. And so life is slow for them. They do a lot of stuff. It's slow paced. And at least that made sense to me, sort of the pacing and everything. But even if the pacing seemed a little slow at times and dragged in a few points, the world building was so amazing to me. And I do agree with Bob that it's points in the direction of where the original Planet of the Apes was. And then there were like obvious call outs to the 68 Planet of the Apes. I mean, you have things like the same sort of X scarecrows like we had in the Forbidden.
I love seeing it. I almost stood up and cheered when I saw this.
I mean, that was really cool. And it's also, a lot of that is also brought to us via the soundtrack. And I looked up the person who did the soundtrack. His name is John Paisano. I really enjoyed the soundtrack. And he also, at certain points, like when they had the hunt, or they had those scenes in sort of the pseudo forbidden zone, there were callbacks to Jerry Goldsmith's original soundtrack, and they included some of those percussive elements and other things that are signature of Goldsmith's soundtrack for the 68 Planet of the Apes. And I thought that also helped to tie things together. But this film, to me, more than any other recent film, sort of reminded me of Beneath the Planet of the Apes because of the different cultures we encounter and the different elements, the world building, and you've got the humans in their whatever silo or place towards the end reminded me of like the mutants hiding out, and So I enjoyed that. And I also enjoyed the characters. I connected with Noah. I connected with Raka. I thought they were really well-drawn characters who were interesting to
Well,
see.
Taka was like, he was like my favorite character in the whole movie, which kind of depressed me when he got washed away early in the film. Although I was expecting to see him pop up later in the movie, but then I thought, it's actually good that he didn't, because A, it's a Disney film now, and B, what are they noted for? Bringing everybody back from the dead. Like, you think someone died and then they come back. So
You
it's
know what
good they kept him.
They did say that if you sat all the way to the end, at the very end of the movie, there was an audio cue that sounded like Raka making that little orangutan throat noise. Does that mean he survived? No.
That was one.
I think what they really missed out on, and you kind of touched on it, was I was really expecting when those gates opened and they saw what was inside. I swear I thought there were going to be people in there worshiping a bomb.
Yeah, I wondered if the Alpha and Omega missile would be inside, but maybe
or at least just like tuck it over in a corner somewhere. Hey, look over there. There's another
I gave them respect for not bringing back Raka. Not just Disney, but a lot of films or TV shows will be like, well, Rick Grimes is not really dead. It works sometimes. I mean, I'm very happy that Han didn't die. I'm very happy that Spock didn't die. But, just like, I know you guys don't watch The Bad Batch, but one of the characters in The Bad Batch passed away, and I thought the very last episode they'll bring him back, and they didn't. It served the story, and they respected that reaction that the audience got. Speaking of reactions to the audience, I did come close to some man tears for Raka, but it just didn't happen.
Wasn't enough for you, huh?
Wasn't enough. Maybe if I got a little more story with Raka.
Although he kind of served his purpose, and I thought it was very interesting that they mentioned that Caesar was the lawgiver, and they're all living by his word, but Raka and his tribes and whatever had a very different interpretation than Proximus Caesar and his tribe.
Yeah.
So it's all, and it's very much like, I don't want to get into religion and all that, but kind of religion today, it's all how you interpret the original word or the original act.
Well, it's a lot like the Spanish Inquisition, right? I mean, what is God's word, and what, how do you, so what that was kind of interesting. What did Caesar become from what Caesar was?
Right.
One of the things that I think would have worked really well for me, when May was introduced, we call everybody Nova. We call them all Nova. I'm like, okay, what's your name? And she would have said, my name is Taylor. Right? One of the things that bothers me with this modern Apes, there's no Dr. Zaius, and there's no Taylor. There's no astronauts coming from the past.
Oh.
Well, not yet anyway. It's prequels.
Yeah. So in the first movie, movie, they had a mention of a spaceship taking off and losing contact with the spaceship. I think that will be followed up on at some point. Either the astronauts will return, or there will be some connection there. That it's too juicy a plot item for them not to play off of eventually, right? So they'll do something with it, whether it'll be, in the next film, or they'll wait until they actually get a full-fledged ape society like the original film. I guess we'll have to wait and see. But like Dr. Zaius and all that, I think I'm actually glad the direction they've gone with these, because they could have just tried to do a remake, like Star Trek 2008, right? Oh, let's just get all the old characters and recast them and we'll just do it, do another version. But instead, what they've done is a really interesting take on the premise where they've still taken the basic idea of like, oh, the apes are intelligent, and then, the tide is turned, right? And the humans lose control, but they've done it in an entirely different way. And I'll always love the original films the most because it's just what I grew up with, right? But I'll always have those. And now I'll have like this alternate version that I can appreciate. So I'm glad that they've kind of taken a different route. And it is interesting to look at it because this is kind of showing like, how did they ever get to where they had a full-blown society? Well, they had to kind of go through their, I don't know, Bronze Age and whatever, to build up to that point.
I'm not saying you mentioned Star Trek, the Kelvin universe, that those movies were perfect, but I enjoyed those more than I did these Planet of the Apes films. But
it exists in reality.
I always thought it was funny that Karen had a problem with the size of the engine room and the tube that Scotty was getting flushed through, and
makes no sense.
So and when Steve would talk about the middle of the earth and how the forces of the
core. We were talking about when we saw the core together.
Core. And then you and Bob about ant legs. I think about ant legs a lot. And I tried not to be that guy in this film, but I was just
and like Karen was saying, it's interesting that yes, they're following this path and they're integrating parts from the books. They're integrating parts from, what we know to be things that lead up to the movies, but they're not doing it as a static, like, oh, this is our guide. This is how we have to go. They're kind of going off into different branches, which is interesting.
Yeah.
I was reading something about the director. I can't remember his name.
Wes Hall.
Yep. So he said he would not remake the original Planet of the Apes. No matter, if this leads up to it, whatever, he would not remake the original because he has too much respect for it, which I thought was good.
I like that.
Leave the original alone. But leading up to it, because you still got quite a few years before Taylor comes around, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this one jumps about 300 years, but Taylor landed like thousands of years. So
yeah,
a whole lot of stories you can tell between, 300 years in the future and thousands of years in the future. But I thought it was interesting too with the ape tribe that Noah was part of, that they were like an eagle tribe or a hawk tribe, and they would like collect the eggs, and that each ape would raise their own falcon. And and Noah's got cracked at the beginning. He never got his eggs, so he was trying to train his father's falcon, who didn't take to him until close to the end. But having all the falcons come in and take care of Proximus, that was I thought that was pretty cool.
That reminded me of Lord of the Rings. The eagles show up to save the day.
Man, what was that?
Yeah.
See, we each have our things we like and dislike. So,
it wasn't the worst movie I ever saw. It was a good popcorn movie. I was joking about sleeping. I didn't fall asleep. There were interesting things. When we saw the tanks, when they, May showed them to open up and she shoots one of the gorillas or the apes. And Proximus is like, are there more of those? And her whole thing was he can't get a hold of these tanks and jeeps and guns, and because then there would be, who knows what kind of a war.
Guerrilla warfare.
And I think it's very telling. The thing I liked about Noah is he didn't realize his strength until he had to find it. And he trusted May to the point they're having that conversation at the end, and she's got her hand on a pistol behind her. Yeah, and
I was
so
kind of wondering about that because
is it that she doesn't just trust Apes? What dealings has she had with Apes, or was it Noah, or is it just I guess we'll see. There's going to be a sequel, obviously.
well, I
That's
think
kind of
you
interesting.
mentioned that she was raised to be silent. Don't talk. You don't want to be found out. And I think that there is a certain mistrust of apes just because of she didn't like initially find Noah's tribe. She found Proximus tribe. So that's a whole different tribe than
Maybe I missed this, but how did she come to trust Noah? Why did she pick Noah?
Yeah, I had been thinking about that. I need to see this movie another time. Like, why did she was actually in his village prior to him going back to the tunnel, which is kind of interesting. And I was wondering, like, was she just exploring and trying to, or was she trying to actually stir things up between the two tribes to help her gain access to the weapons depot or whatever? But one thing I was thinking about as we we're talking about her distrust and everything, these Apes movies have always had an element of allegory to them.
Al Gore? What?
Yeah, he also invented the internet.
He did, that's right.
And I think, sometimes people have criticized the newer movies for not really necessarily continuing that, but I felt that element strongly in this film because of the distrust between Noah and May. And May obviously, apes are taking over, this used to be our world and we can't trust them and blah blah. And then Noah is pretty isolated guy. He's been with his tribe, and then he's like, exposed to all these things, and he doesn't really know who to trust or what to think. And I thought that was pretty allegorical for a lot of things happening now where people don't feel like they can trust other people. They, even though those two had been together and had saved each other's lives and helped each other, they still towards the end very uneasy. And I thought that was an interesting
I think Noah was to the point where he trusted her and he was following her. But then they were inside the silo and they found the books. And they're flipping through the books, and suddenly here's books of like people and children looking at apes in cages. And say, okay, maybe we can't trust these humans. And I think that's kind of where it turned, and he started not trusting her to the point where it was like, he wanted nothing to do with her at one point. But I think, as far as her trust of them, I think it was the fact that they were taking care of her. They took her on the journey. Noah was giving her the wrap to keep her warm. They were kind of proving that they were carrying apes. They weren't like
passionate
apes. And, it got to the point where she's almost captured by the gorillas and she calls his name. And then he realizes, hey, she can speak. She called my name and blah, blah, blah. And then that's when she came out and, admitted that she could speak and she had intelligence and all that. But, again, it took her a while to warm up to them.
Oh, yeah.
And I think, they all got to the point where they're all trusting each other until they saw those books. And then it was like, well, now what? Can we trust, are all humans like this? Can we not trust any of them or what?
But they were there when the gorillas were hunting the humans in that little stream. And why were they hunting them? Were they going to eat them? Were they going to use, because they were using Noah's tribe to do the work to break down the wall. We never really saw humans other than what's his bucket. So I mean, it was a nice throwback to the original film that they're hunting humans, but why?
Yeah, there may be some things that are unexplained.
I don't think they're hunting them to do anything with them except kill them. I mean, they're thinking humans are their enemy. At least that's what that tribe thinks, or that's what Proximus thinks. That's why he wants to get into that vault and he wants to get the weapons, or he wants to get whatever's in there that will make him as intelligent as the humans and give him an advantage. Now, the only reason he kept May alive was the fact that she got in with, what's his name, Traeger or
Trevason, I think.
Professor
William Macy.
She got in with him, and then I think Proximus realized, okay, she has the key to get into that vault, and so I can use her. So she survived. But I think because once you got into the encampment there, you didn't really see any humans around.
No, that's the thing.
Except for him and then her. So I think they're pretty much capturing humans and killing them off.
This would have been a great point for Dr. Zaius. Never trust man.
In the original, you remember they were killing a lot of the humans because they were eating their fields. You know, they had fields of like corn and stuff, and the humans were, you know, taking away their food supply. So
they were dissecting them too. They were experimenting on them.
Yeah, they brought some back for.
Yeah, well, that was Zira's influence. I mean, she was able to corral the ones that she thought were kind of more advanced or more intelligent, and use those for experiments. But
and then the army used some for target practice as well. So,
you know, humans have their usefulness.
You can do a few different things with them.
Hello, Bright.
But you can't train them to like sweep or you know, lift blocks or do anything.
Right.
Labor. They're too.
Well, I think they did in the books, though, right?
In the books, yeah, it was different.
A slave and slave.
Well, and that's why when we saw the tanks and stuff, I was like, "Oh, that would be pretty cool." Watching some gorillas and apes driving some tanks, and you know,
like the cartoon, right?
Yeah, like exactly.
It's the next movie. You just wait.
Well, I was still wondering, like that big door opens out on like a beach. How are they gonna like get all that stuff out of there? But anyway, maybe it's too many questions.
Well, that's a great question, and how I explained it to myself because I was so bored watching the movie was, you know, because of the war or whatever, the axis of the Earth, I don't know, the proximity of the moon. The original Planet of the Apes, the Statue of Liberty was covered by sand and you know the sea. So maybe it shifted the water. Maybe when they originally built it.
Well, that's the one thing I was thinking about. I don't think that the nuclear war has occurred yet in this timeline because think about all the weird stuff that we saw in the first movie. I don't know. I'm just thinking that maybe it's not. Maybe it hasn't happened yet, but maybe we just haven't seen enough to know that it's happened.
That's why they didn't have the bomb in the silo there.
Could be. I don't
know. I would have preferred Dr. Zaius than the little baby doll.
That was another callback to the original film with the mama.
So I mean, yes, I am not ashamed to say I did enjoy this film, and like I say, I'm interested. At least it's got me interested to see where it goes.
Yeah, same for me. I did a couple of weeks before the movie came out. I watched the previous three, and I have always had kind of mixed feelings about them. Generally, kind of enjoyable, but I watching all three in a short period of time, I appreciate them a lot more. I think as you know their own trilogy. Oh, shake your head, Larry. I don't care.
You know
I
what?
did. I did really miss the one ape with the down vest and the cap.
Bad ape. Oh
Hey, look, if you like something, like it, support it. It's not my cup of tea, but I know there's a certain Batman versus Superman film that's not for everyone, and I live with that too. So it's okay. It's all good.
But you know what was really funny to me is that at a certain point I was watching it. I think it was when they were going through, like, the cities that were all covered over with foliage and they're climbing and stuff. And I'm looking at the screen and I'm going, every single thing on the screen is CGI.
I thought that too. Even the gorillas, May was the only like actual. Now I know they did the, whatever the
motion capture.
Yeah, the mocap thing, but still.
Yeah, and normally that will kind of upset me, like, oh, it's all CGI. But then I thought, you know what? But it's like a painting, it's like this whole vista and everything is so interesting. I didn't mind it, plus it was good CGI. It wasn't Scorpion.
Now, there was that one scene that maybe Larry was snoozing through when Batman shows up. And
Batmobile.
So if Lancelot Link showed up in lieu of Batman, I would have been like, woo.
Gorilla Batman.
Gorilla Batman.
Bonobo Robin.
Grog.
We need to win the lottery so we can do some Planet 8 movies series for folks to enjoy. Just plop all our ideas.
We have to get some people with talent to help us.
Okay, so our next podcast is going to be about Furiosa, right? We're all going to go see.
What is that? I don't know. What is it?
I am probably one of the very few people who didn't like Fury Road. So now I'm not planning to see it.
I know we did all the other Mad Max films.
Yep.
Should we do a Road to the Apocalypse 2? We may find ourselves visiting Furiosa. I don't know.
Okay, sir.
I'm not a big fan.
It would be a Furiosa special when it hits home video.
Our 5-minute special. You know who wants to go see this? And I said I'd go with them is Jeff.
Really?
Yeah. So I will report back with a 1.5-minute recap of Furiosa. Anyway, back to the kingdom. Any last thoughts or comments or anything?
Yeah, 10 minutes after we finish the show, I'll remember whatever it was I wanted to say about it.
I'm kind of interested to see it a second time. I'm sure there's some things I missed in there, and I enjoyed it enough to watch it again. The way things are going, it may be streaming like next week. I mean,
that's what I'm thinking.
I was going to ask, would you go to the movies again, Bob, or are you going to wait for it to stream?
Well, I really do. These days it depends on if I have time. Time is not on my side lately.
Yeah. I feel like if I have time to go to the movies, I want to see a new movie and not something I've already seen. Because, it's just like getting out and going to the movies. I want to get as many movies in as possible. I saw this on the biggest screen I could get around here. I always try to go to, and this is a plug, but an unpaid plug. The Cine One at the Harkins Theater.
Harkins?
In Tempe Marketplace. Huge screen. I love that screen. So I always try to get in that theater because it's a big, big theater. And I think this is the kind of movie you want to see on a really big screen. I mean, I'll probably won't get to see it again until it's streaming or until I buy the physical media, which I will buy.
What movie is that? I missed it.
Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Oh.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'll get out to see it IMAX. I mean, I did make it a point of going out in my third or fourth viewing and seeing Godzilla -1 on IMAX.
Oh,
I did that before it disappeared.
that one hurt. I didn't make it in time for IMAX, but I saw the film 3 times and then minus color once. So
yeah.
I saw it on like H-Min instead of IMAX.
Yeah.
You'll be able to see both at some upcoming Godzilla fests, but I'll talk about that later.
That'll be fun. Okay. Well, my friends, this brings us to our Censor Suite. What are you guys watching, reading, buying?
Well, still watching Discovery. And we finished up Shogun. That was good.
Shogun was really good.
We actually somehow got on watching Skinwalker Ranch.
Oh God.
I don't know. I mean, see, a lot of times when we've got nothing to do and we're flipping through channels and things, we'll land on one of those paranormal investigator TV shows or whatever, and we'll binge on that for a while. So this is kind of like that. I mean, Skinwalker Ranch is a ranch out in Colorado, where it's known for its paranormal activity and also UFO sightings. Now you put those together, it's like, man, that should be right up my alley. So yeah, we've been kind of watching that, and still making our way through Pennyworth, which I really enjoy. And always looking for something else to binge. So I'm sure we'll find something else by next episode.
Waka. What do you watch?
Well, we also finished Shogun, and it was so good, and I'm kind of annoyed now they're talking about making a season 2.
I heard they're not going to make a season 2, and that's why I didn't want to invest time into it.
Well, what I'm reading is that it did so well that now they're thinking, oh, we should do a season 2, but it's like there's no other follow-up book. So they would have to make it all up, which I think is okay. That's not going to go very well.
They did the same thing with Game of Thrones, and I did enjoy Game of Thrones other than the finale. But
yeah, it kind of fell apart in the last season. So see,
indeed.
I watched Avatar: The Last Airbender on Netflix.
You're blowing my mind here, buddy.
I did. It reminded me a lot of the old like Xena and Hercules kind of shows.
Really?
Yeah, just the same kind of spirit. And it was fun. Enjoyed that. What else am I watching? In preparation for Deadpool and Wolverine, we have been going through every X-Men and X-Men affiliated movie. We finished Logan last night, and so I think now it's on to like Deadpool 2 or something. It just made me remember when watching the first Deadpool made me remember that I don't really care that much for Deadpool. So it's like being in a room with like a bunch of like 14-year-old boys. Jesus Christ. So yeah, I don't know how I'm going to get through Deadpool and Wolverine, but it's got Wolverine, so I'm going to want to see it. So I don't know. Yeah.
Oh, we may. I guess we might as well do an episode on it.
We shall see.
We'll see. I gotta say, our episodes, and for those listeners who are interested in analytics, our episodes that are on newer films tend not to do that well. Yeah, they don't tend to draw in the listeners that much. Our episodes on things from like the 70s tend to do really well. Yeah.
That's because all our fellow old codgers are tuning in.
Exactly.
And we salute you and thank you.
Outer Limits and Twilight Zone, and
we're all sitting around at work going, man, I wonder if I could watch Logan's Run on my phone or whatever, So it's like, yeah, we have our audience, and that's great. So but yeah, I don't know, new stuff.
But
I think,
sometimes they have to drag you kicking and screaming into new stuff.
well, I think like Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is okay because all of our Planet of the Apes episodes have done really well, and so I think it has like a built-in audience, hopefully.
For all things, there's a first. Just kidding.
So yeah, so that's been pounding through those movies, and I gotta say, the quality of the X-Men stuff is all over the place. Yeah, that's all I'll say about that. What about you,
I
Larry?
got a box set of the X-Men. I don't remember if it was just 3 or 4 films or whatever it was, but yeah, I'd have to go find the others and things, but maybe I'll just kind of pick and choose, just like watch the ones that Deadpool is in or with something. But
I finished off the Bad Batch, Star Wars, the Bad Batch, and very few TV shows have satisfying finales where they tie things up and things make sense and there's a logic, and this was not one of them. What drives me crazy is when you have like 3 endings. It's like, okay, it ended. Well then, we'll tell you a little conversation that they had. And so Omega, who was, one of the main.
Don't give anything away. I'm gonna try and watch it.
I say no more. Good on you. Good on you. I'm not there's no real new series out there. I'm watching Kolchak and Night Gallery. Jasmine and I have finished the entirety of the Twilight Zone series.
Oh wow.
So, yeah. Yeah, every night before bed we'll watch 1 or 2 episodes. Not every night, but most nights. So I think we're gonna switch over to X-Files.
Yeah, we got to do some more X-Files too. We did what, the first two seasons?
Yeah, we got to get back on X-Files.
Got to get 3 and 4 going.
We got to finish Invaders first.
We got to do Invaders. We need to do a first season of Star Trek too. We need to do Trek some
Trek love.
Yeah, show them some love. Otherwise, I've been listening. I'm going to share this with you guys. Found this at a bookstore. The Star Trek theme and Planet of the Apes. For those of you on YouTube, the Apes Shuffle.
That was a big hit.
That came out in the 70s or what?
This came out in the 70s, and it's a cover band covering a cover band covering a cover band. So it's not the original music from the series or the shows or movies by any stretch of the imagination. However, excuse me 1 minute. Those of you who are not watching YouTube, switch over to YouTube. You're going to see something awesome. Karen and I went to a Monsterpalooza many, many, many years ago. And this figure
oh my goodness
was shown, and it was a prototype. They finally released Christopher Lee's Dracula.
See, now that episode did very well too, by the way.
That just come out?
It's been out for a couple of months, and it's Sideshow Collectibles, and they had a sale, like free shipping or 20% off or something like that. So I snagged it. The details on this premium format figure, the base is incredible.
Nice.
They also have a Peter Cushing figure as well, but you gotta pick and choose where you're gonna throw your dimes.
Gotta get Cushing. If you got Lee, you gotta get Cushing.
Yeah.
Gotta have the set up there.
Eventually, but
He'll do nothing but go up.
This is true. I have the Bela Lugosi premium format figure, but he got smoke damaged in the house fire. And God bless Jeff, he's working to restore it for me. So it'll be cool to have Bella next to Christopher Lee, the two Draculas. But yeah, the great thing about Sideshow is you can get on this like $50 a month plan. And so these like, $300 and $400 figures or statues are a little more palatable, and you don't have to throw it on your credit card. You just get on this plan with them.
That's how they get you.
And they got your mission commander, I tell you.
It's like real vampires.
It's a beautiful figure. If you guys get a chance to, I recommend. And I agree with you, Bob. I'm gonna have to talk to Jonathan, or maybe not, and get that Peter Cushing, Dr. Van Helsing. His jacket has like the real fur. If you remember in the movie how he was all dressed up with his, not a cape, but like his coat and stuff. Very, very nice. And you remember walking, this is like 10 years ago, we saw this prototype.
Yeah, that's
and they were like, it may or may not come out. We don't know. But anyway.
All teasing. I'm sure I got a few things out there I forgot I ordered that are on such a big pre-order that I saw something today. I don't remember what it was, but it was like, oh, that might be cool. But it's it's a pre-order for like November. It's like, do I want to wait all the way to November? Because unlike Amazon, they make you pay up front. So,
well, yeah. See, that's, you got to make a hard decision at that point. But
we'll see. Because like one I saw was, of course, Titanic Productions that did the Gorgo figure.
Yeah,
the articulated Gorgo. Now they're doing Yongari. It's like, oh, I've got like, looking around, I got nothing on Yongari in here, so I might have to get that.
That Mecha Godzilla figure you got from Super 7 at your local comic shop. Super 7 had a sale, and I jumped on that. I was like, I have a ton of Mecha Godzillas, but I didn't have that one. And
did I show that off on a sensor sweep?
You did. And I was like, oh, it will be mine someday. If the price is right.
There you go. I was trying to think if I have anything figure-wise to show off. Talk amongst yourself. I will be right back.
I got a couple of Planet of the Apes things, which, because I'm old and I can't think very well, I probably have already shown. But
that's okay. Show it again.
Do it again, because we got 139 episodes, so it's probably been a while. This, which folks listening cannot see.
Ooh.
This is my Lawgiver Tiki mug, which sits proudly on the shelf and is never used.
Is that a Super 7 also?
Mondo. I think it's Mondo, I believe.
Mondo, yeah.
Because I have the one that's bleed.
And then as a companion, I got this.
There he is, my buddy.
Oh no, they were the theater I went to, which I forget which theater group it was. It was not AMC or one of the other ones. It was one of these sit down.
Regal, maybe. Regal does kind of stuff.
Like no, it was like the Texas Alamo House or something like that.
It wasn't Texas Roadhouse, and it wasn't Alamo. It says SMG, and I can't remember which theater that was.
Oh.
I haven't been there in years, but yeah, they had glasses you could buy for War of the Planet of the Apes, and this is Bad Ape doing the peace sign in his little vest hat, and unfortunately it got cracked, so now it's just a display item.
Oh,
but he sits with the Lawgiver.
It's nice. What do you got for us, Bob?
Let's slip through a couple things really quick. Of course, back when Godzilla King of the Monsters came out, I had to get the Godzilla King of the Monsters popcorn bucket. And so, of course, since I had that, I had to go out and get the popcorn bucket for Godzilla and Kong. There's
What's that made out of?
it's tin.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then I also got the round one,
Huh.
which has a nice Godzilla on it. So there's Kong.
Oh, it's cool.
You're watching on YouTube. And the only figure thing I got recently, and it was just I was over at Japantown this last weekend checking stuff out since we got the big Godzilla Fest convention happening there. And I was over at Japan Video and they had some Ultraman figures and I ask that you chant my name. Ultraman Z. Ultraman Z. And that's the pose he's in when they're changing and he asks that you chant his name.
Nice.
And then cleaning up the monster garage, I found a bunch of stuff. I found this special variety issue, which was only put out at the American cinematographer, or it was the American, I can't remember the name, but film marketers convention. And they were premiering Space Battleship Yamato, and they released this variety that was only available there that day, because each day they'd have like a different variety with whatever film was premiering. And I picked that up, but I have actually here's two. I've got like a third one somewhere. So I've got one to keep, one to have signed because Space Battleship Yamato was done by Takashi Yamazaki, who did Godzilla -1. And I have a third one. If I see him, I'll give it to him. But yeah, so we are talking to Yamazaki about coming out for Godzilla Fest. Talking to Megumi Odaka about coming out to Godzilla Fest. She played the psychic girl in all the 90s Godzilla films.
Miki
Segusa. And we're basically in the big planning stages for a regular Godzilla Fest in July at the Balboa, and then a big Godzilla Fest convention at Japantown in September. So keep an eye on bayareafilmevents.com/Godzilla Fest, and you will see news and things pop up. You can also get on our mailing list and we'll send out information.
That's awesome.
And last night I was dancing around the house because I was finally able, after all these years, to find and register GodzillaFest.com.
Woo!
Even back when we did the first one in 2004, we had to use, I think it was sfgodzillafest.com. So we've got officially GodzillaFest.com. So we have to talk to somebody with some talent and get a really nice webpage put together for that. So if you look at it now, I think it just says name not available, link not available. It's just nothing right now. So, but it's in my possession.
Hey, Bob, I have a Planet 8 podcast question for you. Can we have a table at the convention?
Sure, why not?
Yeah.
I'll talk to Kevin.
We'll have
board. You can get in there.
we'll have to bring Walker out for that.
Yeah, you guys can be on the table. I'll be running around doing other stuff, but
there you go.
You can make some cameos here and there.
When is that? September?
September 13th, 14th, 15th at Japantown.
Yeah.
I might be in Italy.
Buongiorno.
Hey, what's the matter? You scheduled everything right when I'm gone. What?
Okay.
You come out July 19th, 20th, and 21st for Godzilla Fest at the Balboa Theater.
Hey, that might work. I don't know. Let me see.
Take the gun, leave the cannoli.
And then I'll bring this, and you too can chant his name.
May your first child be a Mexican.
All right, my friends. Well, any last minute thoughts, comments?
Did you know what type of ape Proximus Caesar was.
He wasn't a chimney pansy. Or if he was a big chimney pansy.
He was a bonobo. See, they added bonobos to this new series. So bonobos are similar to chimpanzees. And for many years, scientists thought they were like maybe a subspecies of chimpanzee or just small pygmy chimpanzees or something. They're like more muscular than chimpanzees, I think. But yeah, I was listening to a feature on one of the other discs, and they were talking about the different apes they have, and they talked about bonobos. And then I was listening to an interview with the actors, and they said Proximus was a bonobo. And I was like, oh. I was like, damn, I got to go back and read more stuff, because when I was a kid, we just had orangutans, gorillas, and chimps. When I was reading my ape books, and not just Planet of the Apes, but apes in general, now we got to talk about bonobos. So, just like Pluto was a planet.
Is it kind of like Jurassic Park, where every movie they have to have a better T-Rex?
Yeah, I think that's what's happening. Or else it's like, oh, we discovered these things about dinosaurs, so now we got to call them, like we used to have a brontosaurus, and they don't use that word anymore.
Well, I think they went back to it.
Did they go back to it?
Apatosaurus or Apatosaur didn't really catch on, so back to Brontosaurus. Maybe someday they'll make Pluto a planet again.
In my heart, it's always been a planet.
I agree. I still want to see Dr. Zaius. Dr. Zaius.
Do you want to see The Simpsons, Dr. Zaius?
That would be awesome.
Dana Gould is Dr. Zaius.
I can take a little of Dana Gould's Dr. Zaius, but after a while, I just get irritated.
It depends. There's one interview that they do with him that was done before showing a Planet of the Apes by TMC, and it's really good. And he's good throughout. And yeah, those are kind of hit and miss, but
sometimes he's really funny, but I find after a while it's like, okay, I'm done.
Next.
Next ape.
Well, my friends, this draws us to the close of another Planet 8 episode. Whether you like something or don't like something, I'll never stop saying this: support it if you love it, and give it a try. Don't I probably shouldn't have went into this should have talked to Bob ahead of time, because I was ready to hate Godzilla X Kong, and he's like, no, they're a child's eyes. I'm like, okay. Let me put my socks on up to my knees and my shorts, and I wear my little baseball cap. I ran in the theater, Godzilla! I loved that.
Speaking of loving and supporting things,
yeah,
MeTV has a spin-off channel coming that's all cartoons.
Really?
From the Warner Brothers library, and I think one other library. But they've got like the Warner Brothers cartoons, Hanna-Barbera, so I'm really hoping for some Space Ghost and Herculoids and things. They're definitely going to show Johnny Quest, and they're definitely going to show Speed Racer.
Ooh.
So just those two alone it has me excited. So yeah, it's MeTV Tunes, and I think it comes out in like June.
Hopefully
to a sub-channel.
Get that to our lineup. Let's not forget Star Wars: The Acolyte, coming in June.
What?
Let's see how good that is, or not. Anyway, kids, thank you very much for supporting us. Go to the YouTube channel, hit like, subscribe, comment on our social media, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We appreciate you guys. We appreciate your support. Stay safe. Take care of each other. Love what you're going to love in fandom. And until next time, this is Planet 8 signing off. Peace out. Live long and prosper.
On that note, this will conclude this transmission from Planet 8. We would like to thank all of our intergalactic audience for listening. Be sure to head on over to our website at www.planet8podcast.com, where you can get more information on this episode's topic.
For more conversation, find us on Twitter at Planet8Cast.
Or on Facebook at facebook.com/Planet8Podcast.
We want to thank you guys for tuning in each and every episode. We look forward to your input and opinions. Until next time, this is Planet 8 signing off. End transmission.
By George, he's got it. It is the end.